And if you're an investor, or that's what you're actually, you have a dream to make a lot of money, and you're investor thinking, then you need to be an investor and know how to play that game and not think that you're an entrepreneur. You're not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You're an investor.
Right.
And if you're an entrepreneur, you're not an investor. You're an entrepreneur. You know, I mean, like, you need to know kind of.
No, you make a really good point. I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby.
We are back in the studio with another episode of
Big
Talk about Small Business. I'm here with my co-host.
Hey, Mark. Pleasure to be here as your co-host today, sir.
Eric Howerton. And we're in Eric's studio for his small business, one of them that he has, which is called podcastvideos.com, which is doing, I think, very well. They continue to grow. They continue to get more traction with their complete range of services that they provide to anybody who wants to do a podcast, as well as other stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, anything, we call it conversational video.
Conversational video.
Yeah, I mean, it applies to a lot of different things, you know?
I mean, this business is something else. How many employees have you got over here now?
I think we have nine.
Nine employees in this location.
Yep.
And 5 or 6 different recording venues in the location.
And this one, and we got things that are popping outside of the studio.
Yep.
We're setting up smaller studios. We do custom studio build out. So, you know, one thing we've been talking about is, you know, kind of like the home theater thing. We can come set up a video podcast at your house, your business.
It'd probably be a great place just to do your Skype or your
100%.
Zoom calls, right?
Yeah. I mean, if
you got a good studio.
Yeah. I mean, it goes across so many different spectrums. That's why it's kind of like conversational video is kind of the big umbrella.
Right. I should have you do that at my house.
You should. Because it's not much. And we can also, like, if you do any recordings, you can send all your files and we do all your post-processing, distribution.
Yeah.
We can help with pre-planning, all that type of stuff. So,
well, thank God you guys are our number one sponsor of the show.
We sure are.
I mean, there's no question about that. So we're thankful to podcastvideos.com for what you do for Big Talk About Small Business.
Absolutely, man. Happy to do it.
So today we're going to talk about the roses and thistles of business ownership.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I don't think there's many roses. There's a lot more thistles than roses.
Well, there's some roses. Sometimes roses don't smell so good, though.
No, they don't.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, you're looking for the rose at all times. That's very true.
So, thank God Sam, who's, again, part of Podcast Videos.
Yeah, provides these show notes for us and gives us some bullet point topics with some stats, which is really cool.
It is.
She's getting into this, man.
I mean, she did some research on this one. I like this. Let's just dive into it.
Let's do it.
The financial realities of business ownership. The average annual salary, we'll say earnings, for small business owners is approximately $69,119, with 86% earning under $100,000. And the source of that is Entrepreneurs HQ.
Yeah.
30% of small business owners don't take anything out of the company, reinvesting instead in their business.
Yes. So,
Want to comment on that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that, number one, I definitely agree with this. Like, so there was a long period of time in my first businesses where I didn't take anything. I didn't take earnings, salary, any of that. It was always reinvesting in the business. That's actually the case for today too. Like for podcast videos, those that I own, I don't take anything out of the company. Mm-hmm. It's all reinvested. You know, I mean, I'm either investing in it or I'm investing in another team member to come into the business.
Yeah.
To continue to help grow that business. And I know at White Spider back in the early days, I mean, there was a period of years, if you added them all up together, it was probably like 3.5 years worth of where I did not take any money. I just lived off credit cards or other types of debt.
Yep.
You know, and just...
You were always going for the big payoff at the
100%.
end. To me, that's the classic entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah.
It's not what I get out of it now. It's what the payoff is at the end when I exit. Now, a lot of small business owners don't think like that. They think it's what I can get out of it right now.
Yeah, and
that hurts the business, I think.
It does, and I think that if, you know, and now there were periods where I was making, you know, a salary that was less than $100,000 a year for sure is probably right around the lines of that 69,000, where I could eke a living by. And then I would just stack debt on top of that, with credit cards. I mean, I was really good at like a Walmart credit card. I had gas cards. I had
Oh yeah, man. Max
Capital One, Shields cards.
You're right.
What Bass Pro, didn't matter.
Every bit of credit you can get,
Anything
baby.
I can get, man.
Yeah, I get it.
And I would just kind of, ping pong back and forth from them and just try to make it happen, man.
Well, I can't say I was exactly like that in my businesses. Now, you also got a bigger payoff at the end by doing what you did with your business, particularly White Spider. Not to say that I did fine. I mean, I sold my business twice.
Yeah.
Which is not bad.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
But that wasn't always the case for me. I was making a pretty good chunk of money when I started my business. Well, right before, because I was unemployed.
Yeah.
And I certainly took a low salary, but I made it back the first year.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to take a vow of poverty.
No.
Because I've had good salaries out of my companies and plenty of benefits and things. I think it kind of depends on the business. But, I was always told I could take more out. And we were in the reinvestment mode. We didn't want to have a lot of debt.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And wanted to keep the place growing so there would be some value at the end of the game. And I think a lot of it, though, a lot of small businesses, how much money they make, in large part, it's their own fault if they're not making any money out of the business.
That's fair.
I mean, don't you think?
No, 100%. And I think that you can, the cool thing that I think you can do is you can actually, I would say don't look at it as like this consistent salary that you're getting every month over month.
Right.
No matter what, you're basically.
You've got to take care of the business first.
That's right.
The point.
And you
Not
also
your personal needs.
And you have to be dynamic in the sense of where is it better that you're getting paid or that you bring another resource on and pay that person?
Oh, no question about it.
Because sometimes the whole intent is to grow that business. Mm-hmm. Are you, a $120,000 person salary away from really going over the next hurdle? That person's has the credibility, qualifications, the network, the salesmanship to take that business to the next level, because that has multiple.
Yeah.
It's compounding interest.
Yeah, it is. No, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, you're just investing in others and in the market and in the materials and the equipment, whatever it is, to get over those hurdles.
Yep.
And and I guess the point of it is that your salary is part of that compounding interest equation.
It is. Yeah. The less you take out, the more you got to fuel your growth and value creation. There's no question about that.
It does put, and it's hard for, I think, spouses to understand that compounding. Yeah. I mean, like a spouse that is not in a small business, they're not entrepreneurial themselves, right? Because it's definitely not the norm of the masses of how people look at a career and pay compensation.
Or they look at that spouse and think, oh, you're so talented. You could have a good job.
Yeah, you could.
Right? You could. Yeah. I mean, you could be working for XYZ, making $250,000 a year. Why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because at X, Y, and Z company, I can't make millions.
Exactly. There's the payoff.
I want multi-millions, billions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
That, because then you can take that and keep doing more, right? Continue to invest. But
no, that's it. There's no question about it. I mean, where I say I think a lot of small business owners could do better, I think a lot of them really don't think about things like how critical the growth is to their profitability. Mm-hmm. In other words, pursuing growth makes making profits easier.
Yeah.
And if your goal, though, is the profitability, then you don't necessarily get the growth, right?
Right.
So that's one thing that where they really screw up. And the other thing I think is just pricing.
Yeah.
Just not charging enough for what they do. I see that all the time. Like, there was a guy that had a sandwich shop. It was attached to the Citgo station in Dover, Massachusetts, where I lived. Well, it was in Sherburne. Dover, Sherburne are two sister communities that kind of work together. They got a common school system in the Boston Metro West area. very, very affluent. Okay. Like my next door neighbor was Pierre DuPont V. Okay.
Wow, yeah.
So that's the kind of neighborhoods you have. And they've got one place in town that has carry-out food, and that's this Italian restaurant attached to the Citgo station,
Yeah.
which is like the Citgo station. I mean, it's like everything happens there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Everything. They had movie rental. They had a Dunkin' Donuts drive-through window. They had everything there. But my point is, the food was great.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable sandwiches and pasta dishes and things. It was all too cheap.
Yeah.
And there'd be a line out the friggin' door. And you've got these customers that make a lot of money. I would say to the guy that owns the place, I'm like, dude, raise all your prices.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to scare people away. I'm like, we're not here because it's cheap. We're here because it's convenient.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we pay for those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Raise your price. I mean, the guy could, I think at the time, this goes back to, let's say the late 90s, he was making 108,000 or whatever. I bet you could have made 208,000,
Probably
300,000 out of that business.
Yeah.
With the volume that he was doing just by changing his pricing.
Yep.
People are
100%.
afraid to ask.
100%.
But anyway, so the financial realities, you got to make sacrifices if you want that thing to grow. Mm-hmm. That's all there is to it. That's the golden goose. You can eat the eggs or you can let them sit there, right?
And keep making more eggs.
And making more eggs.
That's it.
Time commitment and work-life balance. Many small business owners work 50 plus hours per week to sustain operations.
I mean, that's
according to the New York Post.
Yeah, that's a minimum in my. I mean, like
I know,
that's
50 hours. That's all.
That's it, right? That's not much.
I don't think that's much.
No, and I mean it's constant, week over week, year over year.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't even like that work-life balance statement. I mean,
I don't either.
That's like we could scratch that off, right? I mean,
we're not trying to get work-life balance because we view them as the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, we're here to work.
Yeah, work-life integration.
That's it, man.
Do work you like.
Yeah, work as hard as you can. Take a nap.
Yeah,
it's that simple, right?
It is. I mean, think about that. 50 hours. Like you could start at 6 and be done at 4 or 5 days a week and be off all weekend. What?
Yeah, that's kind of boring, right?
I mean, it doesn't sound like much.
No.
Does it?
No, it doesn't. I mean, and I think that kind of goes back up to the realities of finance, because like not only are you maybe not taking pay, but you're also working more. And so this equation, I see a lot of people struggling with that with, like if they're currently employed and they have an idea and they want to go out and start a business. Like they really battle themselves. They spreadsheet this out. They're like, well, I mean, I'm making this much now and I need to be making, this. Like, you need to go to the bare minimum.
Yes.
And then just completely wipe off the calculation of the number of hours that you're spending. Like it does, it's insignificant. It doesn't even matter. You don't even need to look at it.
What you've talked before about the people who leave corporate America and either start a new business or buy a business or buy a franchise. Mm-hmm. I think you captured the essence of why a lot of them struggle. Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons they struggle, right? They're used to having all the support of a big company, and suddenly they're doing everything on their own. Mm-hmm. But the other reason is they've got this expectation that I'm going to work less than I work now at Megacorp, and I'm going to make the money I make at Megacorp. Ain't going to happen.
No.
So if you suck all that money out of your new business to maintain the lifestyle that you had working at Megacorp, you probably right away got a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, and it kind of goes back to our previous conversations we had. Like if you have this itch to start a business, the itch needs to be that you're trying to solve a market problem. No one else is solving it. You feel like you should go solve it. And there's a big reward for it, right? And those rewards come from all kinds of things. That's the reason that you jump ship.
Right.
You don't need to try to calculate
psychic rewards.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Like you should, if you're trying to formulate your experience as an entrepreneur based upon what your experience is as an employee, like you're not going to find that perfect formula to jump over. And if you think that you have, that's where I've seen a lot of destruction. Like I see a lot of people that have that itch, but they've analyzed their idea out of not doing it because it doesn't make sense financially. Well, yeah, that never will. Like you're
Not initially.
Yeah.
Not initially.
Right. For
Yeah.
sure. Like
Right.
you basically have, done a mathematical equation that stops you from doing what your dream was. So like, that's a bad idea. Don't even do that.
Yeah.
Don't,
No, you're right on with that.
And the second thing is if they have found some way to mathematically allow themselves to go into business, that's where the destruction starts. So bringing that freaking math equation from an employee in a typical scenario to a business is the most dangerous equation you can sit down and try to figure out.
Listen up, people. Okay? We're not here to tell you what you want to hear about business ownership. We're here to tell you the realities of business ownership.
Yeah.
So you are equipped.
Yep.
But, as well as I do, most people, they have too much personal overhead and they load up on all kinds of debt that they shouldn't have. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's one thing to owe on your house or whatever that's a appreciating asset, but pretty much everything else it's not worth owing on. I mean, when you really come down to it.
It's really not. And I think that there's a game to that. I miss, to be honest with you, I miss a lot of the debt overhead I had. It was so motivating.
Well, the debt that the debt you talked about having, and
the credit card.
Some of the debt I had too was related to not wanting to take money out of the business.
Right.
So in a sense, I was like fueling the working capital of the business.
Yeah.
By here you got this tax obligation. You can't take distributions to cover it.
Right.
So I got to go borrow on my credit cards to pay it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I get
Those
that.
beautiful revolving credit card accounts are great. They're fantastic, right? There's no strings, right?
But if you're just doing it for personal consumption to maintain the lifestyle that you had when you were a vice president at Megacorp or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Or I remember a lot of times I would use the debt for things that the family wanted or needed, right?
Yeah.
To kind of...
Well, it makes up for you not making any money. I mean, it's
like to
normally,
to sustain the time so I can continue going after what I'm doing, and everybody's happy for right now.
It makes total sense.
But I do miss that pressure of oh man, in this check floating scenario, I remember every week, multiple times a week, a lot of times, figuring out which credit card I needed to pay on this date and what that minimum was, and then how much I needed to pull. Here's the thing. I'd pull from the business and pay myself based on what my minimum payments were with my credit cards to sustain another month.
Yeah.
And then another month. And there's just this cycle over and over and over again. But I was always just pulling basic minimal stuff
If you miss that, I've got some businesses that need some money. We can load you up with debt, all the debt you want.
Yeah, let's do it, baby. Let's go.
That'll get you real motivated.
But I need to talk to the wife first about that. That's how much about
That's So yeah, it's going to take time. You're not going to make as much money probably initially. If you think long term, protect the goose that lays the golden egg. Get the big payoff. That's entrepreneurship.
Yep.
50 hours a week is nothing.
Nothing.
I don't even know what people say. How many hours a week do you work? I always say I don't know.
I have no idea.
You say the same thing.
Oh hell yeah!
It is so funny that how you and I have had so much the same mentality and attitude towards this stuff, right? Are we just totally different from everybody else?
No,
What?
but that's why I'm doing this podcast with you, because you make me feel normal.
But it's so true. We don't know how many hours we work.
I have no idea.
Because anytime, I always say, if I'm awake, I'm probably working.
Yeah.
I mean, for all practical purposes.
I'm at least engaged. I'm checking emails, I'm checking texts.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I'm planning. My dream, my favorite thing is when the team has a vacation. Like tomorrow, there's a holiday. Juneteenth is happening. Yep. Team's off work. Fantastic. I will have some one-on-one time with myself, zoning in to some projects.
Good for you. Yeah.
That I will.
But your projects will probably be getting your heavy equipment out working.
Oh, no. I'm talking about work projects.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm going to figure out some things that's required
those
me
things
to spend 4 or 5 hours to sit there and think.
Where you've got the focus, the time commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's an example. I'm not counting those as hours of a work week.
I get it. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, it's just part of what you do.
About every Sunday morning, I get up when everybody else is sleeping, and I go hit a coffee shop, and I work 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
Every Sunday.
Before they even get up.
For years.
Yeah. I got a new job here. It's speaking of that, it was kind of cool. My one of my daughters bought me for Father's Day this thing. Okay, I get this. I'm like, geez, you got me another freaking job. Whereas every week they ask me a question that I have to write up the response to, and then it puts it all in a book about you.
Oh yeah, like a legacy book, like the stuff that Duncan Stone does. Is it a Duncan Stone thing?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
but it's kind of cool. They manage you, so every week you got to write.
Oh,
okay.
God.
So
that's another job.
It's another job. I swear. I mean, I'm sitting there answering these things and spitting out 1,000 words at a time. Anyway, it is another job, but it'll be cool because in the end they'll actually. It's like first thing I was like, I'm surprised. You want to know what it was like for me as a kid? Nobody ever asked me that.
Oh, no.
My kids don't care about that. You actually do? No.
Wow,
that's cool.
When you're dead, they'll care.
I know. But
what was Dad like?
But it is like another job.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I thought it was a great business idea.
Yeah.
To do this.
It is.
Okay, let's go back to the real.
So the common challenges faced by small business owners. Top challenges include inflation at 58%, revenue concerns at 35%, employee benefit costs at 14%, access to financing at 14%, and then supply chain issues at 13%. Provided by Backlinko, the stats were.
So what are we supposed to say to that?
You know, I think that just as a business owner, like the one thing, there's only one thing in here that I constantly am concerned about, and that's revenue.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like 100% of
the rest of this stuff we can take care of if we got the revenue, right?
Yeah, that, and also like what can you really, like revenue's the thing in your control.
Yeah, we can't control inflation.
No, I can't control employee benefit costs.
Yeah, no.
Or I mean, I guess, well, maybe there's a part of me that is always mindful of access to financing. Like I don't think I'm not worried about that, or I'm not.
I am worried about that with some of the businesses I'm associated with.
Yeah.
I got one right now that's got an order from their bank to go find a new bank.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not a good feeling.
You know, I guess it's about challenges, right? Like your access to financing. You know, that is a challenge that you face, like when you are tight on money and like how you're going to cover those bridges.
Yeah. So there are a lot of these are all challenges. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that these are the top challenges. I would think the top challenges are like employee related.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Oh, no, 100%.
I mean, like those are the things that really keep you awake at night, as they say.
Yeah. And I can't believe that inflation thing is like I
can't either.
Now, I guess that there's, you know, it depends on your industry, right? I mean, I can see, you know, like brands, you know, product manufacturers.
Sure.
They obviously that's a huge one, and that could be the majority of people that responded to this, or you know, maybe there's so many products that are out there that masses are thinking about that.
Right. Like if you're in some kind of commodity business or something, which we're not, either of us, never have been. The supply chain issues, those are real. I mean, that's really created some havoc in the manufacturing business that I'm part of. I mean, it started with the tariffs, and then suppliers saying, well, we just won't supply anything to you anymore because your tariffs are so high. That's going to kill our market, so we won't even make that. Okay, that's what I think people didn't even think about.
Yeah.
It's not like you can just automatically buy stuff in the U.S., even if you were willing to pay the difference in price.
Yeah. Yeah, that's painful, man. There's a trickle of pain.
That's created some supply chain. I mean, truthfully, though, any responsible manufacturer should have multiple sources for what they buy. This is just like a classic business school case that you allow yourself to be dependent on one company that's not going to perform. You can't run your business.
You cannot.
Like that.
You cannot. And I think that's not just, you know, I mean, like, I think it's for any procurement, it's any service that you have. You got to be thinking, you have to have plan B and C.
Amen.
Like, locked and loaded. And not only for when the bad happens, but also I think to keep your current one accountable.
Exactly.
It's like, bro, like you think you're the only freaking accountant that exists? Like,
no, I know.
Serious?
It's so true.
You know, like,
just to keep
just remember, I got two people I can holler at. Like I've talked to them. Now let them know I talked to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
No, you're right on with that.
All right, take the next one, Mark.
Business longevity and survival rates. 50% of small businesses survive 5 years. Only 30% reach the 10-year mark. Of course, it goes down once you go up to 20, 30 years, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say one of my businesses is going to turn 37 years old this year.
That is
That's a long time,
man.
I'm not the owner. It's gone through multiple transitions at this point.
Yeah, but you
It's
found
carrying on. I did
co-founded it with Fred White, right?
Actually, I started it first. Then I hired Fred. Okay. For the first 3 years, I was 100%.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Then I incorporated. I mean, Fred was there early.
Yeah.
Within several months, maybe 3 or 4 months of starting it. He was pivotal.
Dude, congratulations, man. 37 years.
Yeah, 37 years. So why don't they last? Why do businesses flame out, you think?
Man, I think that, so I think on that first bracket there, 5 years, the 50% that get knocked out in the first 5 years, I think a lot of that is just pure stamina.
Yeah.
I mean, like to our point earlier, like so many folks don't understand how hard it is, how much time it takes, and how little of money that you're going to have, and how much you have to invest in that business.
Don't you love these things where these experts advise you to have like a year's worth of your operating expenses stuff aside or whatever?
Where the hell is that?
Who does
No
that?
one can.
I mean, who know? Yeah.
That's get over. You'll never start anything.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like
Never gonna do
like
it.
that's.
I love those things, though. You must have 6 months of operating expenses in cash. I've had students recite numbers like that to me. I don't know where they heard them, but they read them somewhere.
Well, I mean, it's coming from like academia, like too much thought and consideration. Overanalyze when reality is the only answer is you need to be fighting like a freaking dog.
Yeah.
Like a werewolf, man. Like just relentless.
Werewolf in London. Huh? That's it. It was a great movie.
Just fight. Like, are you ready to fight? Like, and put everything on the line, and you really need to. You don't tell other people that, but like, are you? I guess to me, it's like when you see something that you want to do you worry about all these what if scenarios, or do you just see the thing that you're wanting to do?
Yeah.
And then when you jump into that,
once you jump in, then you got to start thinking about all the what ifs.
yeah. But
you've jumped in now.
You jumped in, like too late to go back.
You're in the frying pan, dude.
And here's a funny thing though that I've been actually struggling with since the sale of White Spider and starting up businesses over again. Mm-hmm. I know all the what ifs, or a lot more of the what ifs.
Yeah.
And so it's been a much interesting ride. I know I'm going to do this, but I'm like, damn, man.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same.
It's not, is it?
It's so true. Gosh, it's
Has
not
that
the
been
same
your
thing.
experience?
100%.
Like now I'm like, damn it. It's funny. It's like I'm out of control of it now.
Yeah, you realize that the odds are that all your successor businesses won't be as successful as your first one.
And they're costing, and I'm like,
you know more, and you put more money into them.
Yeah, God. I'm working as hard and long.
Yeah.
And I don't.
That's been my experience.
And here's the thing: you don't have to do this.
I know, but you do because you are who you are.
Yeah, it's like I'm out of control. Like there's another personality in me that's, but the thing is like all these what ifs. Like I'm a little bit more, I guess, concerned and fearful.
You got more to lose. That's why.
Yeah, and I know that it can be lost.
Yeah. This is what keeps us awake at night, dude.
This is actually a really relieving conversation that you understand that I'm going through.
I do. I've got my personal guarantee on a line of credit for one of these businesses, and I could survive it if I lost that. But God, it would be painful. I mean,
and here's the thing.
Really, really painful.
Did you have to do that?
No, I didn't have to do that. I know.
Why are we doing it? And they're like, I don't really know. Like it makes no logical sense.
Because that's what we do. I think, so back on this 5-year survival thing now. And what you're saying, like you're like a werewolf. I mean, I remember when I started the company that's Y Group today, I was unemployed. I got fired from a job that I was doing a great job at.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, that wasn't.
I was doing a great job.
Why'd you?
I had
fire?
turned it around. It was a family enterprise, and the guy's family members didn't like me
Got a little
because
jelly.
I put pressure on them to do things. Well, I found all kinds of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, like what's this?
Yeah.
I can see you digging into some. You went to some rabbit holes that you weren't invited into.
That's exactly right. But I was doing a great job. Okay. Now, the thing is, I swore that would never happen to me again.
Yeah.
So my option, my choice was not start my own business or get another job.
Yeah.
I'm like, bullshit on another job. I'm never gonna take that.
Yeah.
I did that and I got screwed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
So that's the fight comes from that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, like you said, though, they start these businesses, they don't ride it out. They don't have the stamina because they're really not that committed to be in that business.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they did it because they thought it was good financially or was in the market, needed it or whatever, but they aren't personally like committed to it.
What you're talking about, this is really good. There's actually like 3 tiers in my brain.
Okay.
Employee mindset,
Yep.
entrepreneurial mindset,
Yep.
and then there's another one, an investor mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so important for our listeners to understand which one are you, and be real with that, because you're going to screw yourself royally if you don't choose the right path. If you're an employee wanting to be an entrepreneur, do you know what that means? And you don't go into entrepreneurship with an employee mindset.
No.
If you're an employee and but you're really thinking like an investor, you are not an entrepreneur. You're an investor because you don't want to work that hard. You want to watch your money work.
Exactly.
You want to be out of the business.
Yeah.
You want to sit on a board. You want to make some controlling decisions just so you protect your money. But it has nothing to do with the grind and the freaking guts and the vision.
Yeah.
Like you don't, and you need to stay the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
As much as you are involved.
It's hard to imagine that.
It is.
Even when you put the money in, because your tendency is going to be, I want involvement.
So I think that
for
there's
people like us.
Well, yeah, but I think that there's a hybrid there, though. But I think that
is.
There's an entrepreneur investor mindset. But honestly, what I figured out is that if I'm an investor in something, I'm more so of an entrepreneur business minded person. That's why I'm invested more in my own businesses.
Yeah, because you feel like you got control over it.
Yeah, because I can't. Yeah, I have to control it.
Yeah, I understand.
You know
that
what I'm
completely.
saying? And I'm more confident to put money that I know what I'm putting money into.
Amen.
As an investor, if I throw money over the line, like I honestly don't have the time to be involved. But I also recognize that I'm an investor in that point.
It's like the public stock market. Okay, it's a great example.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, you put money into that. Somebody else always knows more than you. You're not involved in the management of Apple Corporation or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And if you're an investor, or that's what you have a dream to make a lot of money, and you're investor thinking, then you need to be an investor and know how to play that game and not think that you're an entrepreneur. You're not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You're an investor.
Right.
And if you're an entrepreneur, you're not an investor. You're an entrepreneur. You know, I mean, like you need to know kind of.
No, you make a really good point. I never really thought about that.
Yeah. I think I've shared this quote, one of my favorite quotes. Investors are like horses. They have eyes on both sides of their head.
Yeah.
Watching to be what's they're going to attack them. So they watch their money, right? That's what you do. Like, what are y'all going to lose on my money?
Right.
And that's all they think about.
Right.
And entrepreneurs are like wolves with eyes on the front of their face going out to hunt. They're not worried about what's going to kill them. They're just looking to kill. You know what I'm saying? And so there's a tension there between them. And I think that if you're, if you, it's just like an employee starting a business, wrong expectations. I want to make a lot of money. I want to earn my salary. I got to pay for my lifestyle. You're already thinking wrong. You're not an entrepreneurial thinker then.
This is what I don't like about so many franchise businesses. I'm not saying that they need to be viewed like that.
Yeah.
But I think the people who are attracted to them in many cases have this orientation of, I'm going to get so much money out of this thing. I'm not going to be that involved with it. Okay. It's going to be easy because it's in a can. They're doing everything for me. And yet you'll do a lot better with the franchise business, if you think like an entrepreneur,
Oh, yeah.
and throw yourself into it, don't suck the money out of it.
Yeah.
It's just like any other business, right? It's just
100%.
those are the ones that end up with like 27 McDonald's or
They're
30
entrepreneurial thinking.
30
man.
slim chickens or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
man. Yeah, they're getting it.
Yeah, they're getting it.
Yeah.
But then you got those other people that they buy the slim chickens or whatever, and they suck. They go, well, I made $250,000 a year at ABC Corp, so I'll take $225,000 a year out of this Slims.
Yeah, you're an
can't
investor. Like
support
that's
it.
what private equity groups are for. That's what funds are for.
Yeah.
And, like you need to be part of that, man.
Right.
Like, you
They
need
got
to be-
somebody out
look-
there's watching, though, right?
Yeah, somebody is. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Ready to level up your show? At podcastvideos.com, we offer industry-leading recording and expert marketing to help your show reach more listeners. From creation to distribution, we've got you covered. Visit podcastvideos.com and elevate your podcast today.
All right. So, time for a couple more, my friend. So I do like this next one: funding and financial management. 64% of small businesses start with less than $10,000. 33% with under $5,000 from Entrepreneurial HQ. Love that stat
Me too.
because it is data about what we say all the time.
Yeah.
In
You
this
don't need a
podcast.
ton of money.
You don't
start
need
a
$2
business.
billion freaking dollars.
Yeah.
And go on a pitch deck raise.
Yep.
Unless you're starting, certain things.
Like a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
I always use that as an example.
Yeah,
It takes 5 or 10 years to get through the FDA.
and
or whatever.
$5 billion. Like,
Yeah.
that's a hard one to start. That's a hard one to start. That's like
We're not going to make that.
No. But like if you're having an itch to solve a problem, it doesn't need to be a pharmacy. Like that's pretty big thinking.
I know.
Like to think I need to start like I'm a chemist and I have a problem to solve. You go down that route, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah,
But,
it is. I see my
64% of these businesses that are out there are starting less with $10,000. That should be comforting.
Yeah, I see my students do that sometimes. It's like I have to say, look, that's too big of a problem. It's like I'm going to solve world hunger. No, you're not going to. Okay, that's just too big of a problem to tackle.
Yeah.
Let's come up with something that's a little more manageable that maybe we could conceivably do without a lot of money.
I think this next one's really relevant. Technological adaptation and cybersecurity. Over 60% of small business owners find it challenging to keep up with technological changes, especially AI. Source OnPay. It is a very big challenge, and
Eric, you know about AI.
Yeah.
You know something about it.
yeah,
You got a company that's working in AI space. I'm 67 years old. I don't know anything about it.
yeah.
Okay. All I know is I was at a board meeting last week where the company founder and CEO searches AI and to find out something about where a statistic comes from.
Yeah.
And it quoted our company inaccurately.
Yeah.
Where there's one reference from 2018 of somebody who wrote something in one of our publications that's wrong.
Yeah.
And none of the hundreds of other references where we defined how to do this
Yeah.
were cited. And so that's why I always think, God, I know AI is great. It can do A, B, and C, but those are the kinds of things that old farts like me think, boy, there's got to be, it also can perpetuate a lot of misinformation, can it?
Oh, no, it could.
And bad stuff.
There is an absolute level of professionalism. It's like anything else. Like, sure, anybody can make a cup of coffee, but did you do it right? Did you roast? How are the beans roasted? How are they ground? When did you grind them? What temperature of water? What filter water? Right? All those things. Like we both have coffee, but this one's clearly better and more accurate and is worth it. This one isn't. And it's the same thing with AI, right? Like so how you use the tools and which tools you're using, which bot it's very complicated.
Well, this was just somebody threw it into Google and then it comes back with the AI summary.
Yeah.
You know how Google does that.
Oh, yeah. They're
Okay.
Gemini, AI, summary. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's wrong. What do you
a lot of these things are maturing, right? And there's certain AI tools used for certain things by certain companies for certain people and applications.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for a true hard stat, like you used the wrong AI application.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's complex.
It's intimidating to old folks.
No,
like
it's
me. I mean, honestly, I totally understand what
in all
this
honesty,
stat
like,
says.
I mean, just to let you know, like, it's intimidating for everyone.
Sure.
And like you know, I think we're definitely in a paradigm shift here. This is like the Industrial Revolution. It's like you either jump aboard and you start learning, or you're, you know, and the further that you don't,
or you fight it.
Or you fight it, and the big difference, it's actually not too much difference. It's like the same thing of the automobile. Like, you can continue to make it yourself one by one, or you can start building an assembly line. You might survive for a while, but it's going to get you.
So I'm 67 years old. And I got businesses that I have money invested in. What do I need to do?
I think you need,
really, how do I make myself smart enough on this stuff?
Yeah, I think you have to start consuming information about it, like basically YouTube videos, and just learning.
For like uses of AI, do I need to go through one of these seminars? I've seen these seminars.
They could be helpful, yeah. I mean, I think that it's about engulfing yourself in it. But I think the real thing is like there's a difference between you using AI for your personal needs,
right,
versus a company
understanding how it can be used.
Yes, for you personally. Like, you love financials and stuff like that, you know, and all the things you love to do.
Right.
It's best to go down the path of like, oh, if I use this, it actually expedites, and I can do 50 things versus one thing that I used to do in my time.
Right.
You would love that, and that's going to be really encouraging. Then you'll start geeking and go down the rabbit hole even further.
So try to find like your own use of the of the technology.
Yeah, and then
away.
Yep, and then you ask somebody, like you could ask me, like, which specific tool that I think that you would have a lot of fun with, playing around with, and paying for, and you'll have a blast.
Well, it is a problem for a lot of. I mean,
it's
just basic
problem.
IT.
Oh, dude,
is a problem for a lot of us.
And the other word, cybersecurity. That's another thing.
Oh, God,
it's going to be. I mean, like
I
that.
know.
But yes, so businesses are more than ever facing that problem, and it will continue to be. But you have to be relentlessly adapting to it.
Don't you think, though, that like most small businesses just need like a good outside IT service provider relationship, or not?
It depends on your business. It really depends on your business. Like, I mean, we have one for podcast videos. They do a good job, right? You know, it's Tim Stanley, which he needs to come on the show sometime with TDS. But you know, the hardware, the basic IT stuff, you know, the security, you know, that's good and good enough for a business. But I mean, like, if you're dealing with like what Ad Fury does with full, I mean, like,
no, they're not going to push you into a new use of technology.
No.
I get that. I'm just saying for sort of the day-to-day.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea.
Sense.
It does. It's just like an accountant. Like, you don't want to hire a full-time CFO, or do you hire a fractional?
Exactly. I mean, you get one of these small IT providers. They got somebody that's good with networking. They got somebody that knows hardware, whatever. They somebody that knows cybersecurity.
That crap's all complicated too, man.
It is.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, we could talk about this all day.
We could. Been a great one, man.
It has been. So this has been another episode of Big Talk about small businesses.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk about small business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.